All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us today. This is Nathan Ware with Rain Networks, and this is another one of our famous webinars. Usually, for those of you that have done this in the past, we've done pizza webinars. Today, we decided to try something a little different and go with a bacon webinar since everybody loves bacon. So I hope everybody is going to be enjoying their bacon that they get from us and also enjoying to learn about this Altaro product. Like the folks that registered for this webinar, we use VMs extensively internally, and when we saw Altaro, my first thought was, hey, cool, a great way to back up our VMs. And then after checking the product out, I realized, this would probably be something that our resellers, partners, and customers would probably also like. Easy ways to back up your VM environment is just something we're always looking for, right? So with us today on the call is Andy Syrewicze. He's their main systems engineer. And Andy's going to go through a little bit about Altaro for just a company overview. He's going to do a product demo, and then also, if time permits, he's going to go through some kind of new features that are coming down the pipe with Altaro that are kind of fun. So, Andy, I'll turn it over to you. Thanks for doing this for us today, and we're looking forward to learning something about Altaro.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Nathan. It's always a pleasure to be here and do these webinars. So I'll go ahead and get started here. We've got just a couple of slides. I've got to do the obligatory marketing slides here. I don't like to do death by PowerPoint to the people that I talk to. So I've only got a couple of slides here to go through. So just going to do kind of a quick introduction to myself and Altaro, as a company, and then we'll get into some more demo-related stuff. We'll actually show off the product and a couple other things as well. So, again, my name is Andy Syrewicze. I am a technical evangelist with Altaro. I've been working with them for going on a year now, just about, and I've been around the industry for quite a while. I've been doing support for the last 12 years, kind of working here, there, and everywhere else. A lot of different industry verticals. I do a lot with virtualization. I'm Altaro's subject matter expert here in the States on VMware and Hyper-V and the Altaro's product as well. So we've got a couple of different outlets that we provide a lot of good community content to. If you're interested in checking that out or getting in touch with me, I blog out at altaro.com/hyper-v, and we also have a VMware blog as well, altaro.com/VMware. A lot of good information out there. Feel free to ask questions out there if you have any questions about the content that's posted. Otherwise, if you're a Twitter user, I do have a Twitter handle there. I'm sorry, you'll have to spell my last name. I wasn't thinking straight when I came up with the Twitter handle, but if you're on Twitter, feel free to reach out and give me a buzz. So real quick, I want to do a quick introduction to Altaro. Who is Altaro? Well, Altaro Software was founded in 2009. We started, with a flagship product called Altaro Hyper-V Backup that was released in 2011. And really, when we're talking about our target customer is SMBs. As far as number of virtualization hosts go, our sweet spot is 1 to 40 hosts. So we play really well in that SMB space and that smaller SME area. That's kind of the spot that we're targeting. As far as growth goes, we've seen pretty massive growth over the last couple of years. And last I knew, we were over the 30,000 customer mark as far as number of customers go. So we've definitely seen some good growth in the last couple of years. We have a number of core values that we really believe in as a company. Our software has to be easy to use, especially when we're working in the SMB space, because we understand when it comes to SMBs, you may have Bob from accounting running backups. With that in mind, we want to make sure that the software is easy to use and can be used by a large number of people. Outstanding support is another big thing that we really focus on. When you call our support desk, you're going to get an answer on the phone in about 90 seconds. The last time I checked was our metric for that. But you're not going to get this L1, L2, this whole escalation thing. When you call into our support desk, you're going to talk to an L3 caliber technician, and they're going to be the one that owns your issue from point A to point B. So we really focus on great, outstanding support. We like to earn business and loyalty through our educational marketing. From a marketing perspective, we're not really the type of company that's going to go knocking on doors and doing cold calls and generally being a pest. You know, we don't like to do that. What we like to do is we like to provide good quality information and helpful information to the IT community as a whole, and we do that through our blogs, through webinars like this one, through all kinds of different means. So you know, we definitely want to help you out and help you be successful in your business in addition to using our software, helping you use our software, that type of thing. So, and then an empowered channel. You know, we're building our channel here in the States, and we're very focused on the channel as a whole. This is just a quick slide of some of our customers. Like I mentioned earlier, we have 30,000 plus customers that are using our software, and we've got some of our larger customers here listed. And just a quick market overview. And really what the gist of this slide is about is it comes back to the discussion about virtualization. It used to be that virtualization was kind of this niche thing years and years ago, but really now the reality is that 75% of x86 workloads are now virtualized, with kind of a last couple of stragglers. You know, you've got some SQL workloads, you've got some people that don't like to virtualize Exchange yet. You've got a number of different, picky workloads is I guess what I would call them, that are not virtualized yet, but most of the barriers have been removed. So with that said, with our backup application, we really chose to focus on virtualized workloads only because we don't see the physical workloads remaining in their current capacity forever and ever. So that's why we've chosen to focus on the VM space specifically when it comes to backups. So this is the point where instead of actually showing the product through slides, I will go ahead and actually show the product itself. So here we've got the dashboard of our application. And what this screen really does is it really serves as kind of your one-stop shop for everything to do with the backup application. So just a real quick note on the installation. Our application can be installed on top of any Windows platform. That could be Windows Server 2008 R2 to Windows Server 2012 R2, or it could even be a client operating system. It could be Windows 7, it could be Windows 8, it could be Windows 10. Our software will run on those platforms. On top of that, especially if you're a Hyper-V environment and you might be running Hyper-V in a Windows Core installation where the UI has been stripped out of Windows Server and a lot of the back-end stuff has been removed to make it leaner, our application can run inside of that environment as well. So lots of different options as far as where our application can be installed. The installer itself has about 180, 190 megs, and it installs very quick, very simple, no hassle. One of our goals with the application was to enable basically a quick turnaround from installation to first backup. Our goal time frame there is about 5 minutes. From the moment you click setup to the moment you click take first backup, we want that to be about 5 minutes, and we do a pretty good job of it. So after installing it, the first time you log in, you're going to get this dashboard screen, and it'll actually walk you through the process of doing the initial configuration. Now, this particular instance here that you're looking at is already established, so you're not going to get some of the pop-up windows that kind of guide you through the process. But one of the first things it would do is it would take you to this host screen here. And what this host screen is, it's just a list of all the virtualization hosts that are associated with this particular instance of Altaro VM Backup. You can click Add Host, and you've got the option to do standalone Hyper-V hosts and clusters. You can do a standalone ESXi host, or you can do a vCenter instance. If you do the vCenter instance, it'll automatically pull in all the hosts that are associated with that vCenter instance. So a lot of different options here. As you can see, I already have some Hyper-V hosts here. I've got some ESX hosts as well. If you get to a point where you have a large number of hosts in this view, it is filterable. You can search for specific hosts, or you can say, okay, I only want to see the VMware related hosts. and you can do that here, or vice versa. I only want to see the Hyper-V related hosts. Here they are. So you've got some filtering options here as well. After you add your hosts in, it'll then guide you to go to the backup locations section. And what this is you're setting up a repository in which to store the backups. Now you'll start with an on-premises location, which is the center column here. You click Add Backup, and you've got a couple of different options. You can do a physical drive, USB, eSATA, iSCSI. You can do a network path. It can be an SMB share. Lots of different options. What I do for this particular environment is this all sits on top of a VMware vSphere cluster, and I actually have a Netgear Ready NAS that I present to the vSphere cluster, and then I just present a VMDK off of that Ready NAS to the backup server and present it as a block device. So a lot of flexibility as far as, you know, where do you want to store your backups. From there, you also have the option of defining an offsite location. A lot of different options here as well. You could do another physical drive. You could do the typical drive rotation. But we've really seen a decline in that type of usage model because, you know, really it's kind of a pain in the rear end to remember to swap the drives around and take it off site. I mean, anytime you bring a human into the process, there's always that possibility of error. So we also offer the ability to vault to an offsite location over a network path. This would be like if you had a VPN between two locations. Or we also have the option to use an Altaro offsite server. This would be like if you wanted to send it across the internet. With that said, people hear, oh, my data is going across the internet. Is it protected? It is encrypted in transit. I want to mention that for sure. So your data is encrypted when it goes offsite using our product. With that said, you'll see that I have an offsite location defined here already. I have an Altaro offsite server running inside of Microsoft Azure. I've got a virtual machine running inside of Azure. It's got some storage attached to it. It's running our offsite server software, and I just connect via this DNS path and this port. So it's possible to do that. You could do that with AWS as well. Any public cloud platform you want to use, you can use as long as you can stand up a VM and install our software. After you've defined your backup locations, the third place the application will direct you to is Take Backup. So really, it's fairly simple. I mean, you just select the VMs that you would like to back up, and you click Take Backup. And it will actually initiate the job. You can click this little pop-up here, and it will take you back to the dashboard, and you can actually see the jobs happening. The other option, if you're deeper down in the application, you don't want to leave where you're at, you can actually see the running jobs in this pop-up up here. So just kind of a little informational window. And those are kind of the basics of getting up and running. Now, it doesn't make sense to be doing a manual backup job every once in a while yourself, right? So we do have the option to define schedules and retention policies. Oh, that's odd. Didn't like seeing my infrastructure tree for some reason. I recently upgraded the vSphere backend, and on top of that, I'm running a beta version of our software right now, so I can show you some of the new MSP enhancements. So I guess that's what I get for running beta software. Still a couple bugs to work out, but anyway, what you can do in this screen is you can actually define a number of different backup schedules. And to note, you can assign a VM to more than one backup schedule. If you want to create a custom schedule, you can select your recurrence pattern of weekly or monthly. You can tell it what time you want to run it at, which days, and which days you want to follow it up with an offsite copy. If my infrastructure tree was loading, you'd actually see a list of all the virtual machines, and it's just a matter of clicking and dragging over to the schedule that you want to assign the VM to and clicking Save Changes. Let me go over to the retention policy section here real quick. Okay, it loaded that time. So it's the same thing you'll see on the schedule side too. You'll have the same looking infrastructure tree, and it'll be the same behavior here with the retention policies. You can define retention policies for your on-premises location and retention policies for your off-site location. One thing I always like to note here is that you can define different retention policies for the off-site location than the on-premise. A lot of backup vendors just do a straight copy. The off-site location ends up being an exact replica of the on-premises location, and that's a little inflexible. You know what I mean? What we allow you to do is if you want a week's worth of retention on-premise for a VM and a year worth of retention in the off-site location for a VM, you can do that. We have the ability. One other thing I wanted to mention here, while you can click and drag certain VMs to a retention policy to assign them, if you just want to quick and dirty make the same setting for every VM in a cluster, you can also drag a cluster object over as well, and it will automatically assign all those VMs into that location. I don't want to do that here because I've already got everything set up, so I'm going to hit discard changes for now. And then once you're done with those two sections, really you've done everything you need to do to run scheduled backups. At that point, you'll start seeing information here in the dashboard start getting populated. You know, you'll see what are the metrics for my backup repository look like. And again, I'm using a block device here on my backup server. What does the backup size per day look like? You get some metrics here. And then down here is really your current status. Earlier we saw those backups running here. You'll also see the upcoming jobs. So you see I've got a couple of upcoming jobs coming up here. What's the status of my latest backups? See, they've all been successful. What do my latest offsite copies look like? They all look good. And if I have any restore history or verification history. Now, let's talk about verification for a second. It's one thing to back up a VM. It's another thing to make sure that you can recover from it. And it's no fun to be doing that manually on a weekly or monthly or bi-monthly basis yourself. We have some options inside of our application that allow you to not have to worry about that. We can do that for you. So we've got a couple of different jobs here. We can do a verify backup folders, and really what that does is it will look at the backup folders in the repository and do a consistency check. It'll look at all the backup chains and make sure that everything's happy. If there's something wrong at a file level, it will let you know. Now, if you want to take it a step further and actually do a test restore, you can do a test restore as well. So you select that option, select next, you point it at the source that you want to pull that backup from. You could do an on-premises location, or you could select the off-premise vault as well if you want. I'm going to do the on-premise. Click next, and then you select the VM that you want to do a test restore of. You select that, and the next thing it'll prompt you for is, you know, which instance, which backup do you want to choose? So, you know, I'll do May 23rd. I want you to restore to this ESX host. You select your data store, and you click Perform Test Restore, and it does it. Now, one thing I like to note is when you're doing this test restore, it's going to make sure that the NIC for the restored copy of the VM, it's going to make sure that that virtual NIC is in a disconnected state. That way you don't have a copy of your production machine all of a sudden talking on the network, which wouldn't be a very good thing. So we definitely make sure that we don't do that to you. So, and again, these jobs are completely schedulable. You can do it manually if you want, but they are schedulable. So I don't have anything set up for the Hyper-V environment right now, but I have a couple of jobs set up for the VMware environment. You can see that I'm doing a verification of the file system, you know, of the backup repository every Saturday, and then I'm doing a test restore of my file server VM every night. So a couple of different options there. As far as restores go, we've got a couple of different options. You can do a full restore of a VM pretty much through the same looking wizard that I just showed you. Again, you can select the on-site location or the off-site location. And then we also provide the ability to do file level and Exchange item level restores, because we realize that, you know, you don't always want to restore an entire VM to get a certain file restored. So we offer the ability to just get a specific file or a specific Exchange item as well. So again, pretty much the same wizard. The one thing I always like to point out here is you cannot do an item or file level restore specifically from the offsite location. You'll see that that's not an option. You have to use the on-premises repository to do that. But again, if you want to pull from the offsite location, you can do that with the entire VM restore. So the last thing I wanted to show real quick, we've got some report section here. Again, this is just informational type of stuff. If I wanted to see what the backups looked like for a specific VM, I could do that here. If I want to look at error history specifically, I can see just the error history through this view here as well. If I need to free up disk space, that's done through this section here. I can choose to delete backups past a certain date for a specific VM. So we have a couple of different options there. Same thing for the offsite location. And then again, we come back to support. And again, we want your support experience with us to be very positive. So we offer support directly from within the application. You can email us if you want. You can give us a call, or we offer live chat right from within the application. So you fill out your name, your email address, and you'll be connected to one of the guys on our support desk. And should they ever ask you for a remote support key, you actually come down here to get help and say remote support client, and it'll generate a key that you give to them either via chat or over the phone, and they'll be able to team viewer into your installation and take a look at things. So with that said, that's kind of the quick rundown on our application itself. I had a couple of other things that I wanted to show real quick that are really helpful to a managed services provider. The first one is still within the application, and that's under notifications. By default, we write logs. We write backup job status, failed backups, completed restore operation. We write all that stuff to the Windows event log on the machine that's running our software. Where that's really helpful for managed services providers is MSPs that are using some sort of RMM utility like a LabTech or a Kaseya or Continuum, something that takes a look at the Windows event log on a machine on a regular basis. What we've seen customers do is they'll actually tell their RMM application to take a look at the Windows event log on the backup server for our event log IDs for failed backups. And if it sees one, to automatically raise a ticket, assign it to an engineer to take a look at it. So our application lends itself well to MSPs looking to do that level of automation. We also offer, the standard email notifications as well, but I found that most MSPs prefer the event log notification, and they prefer to roll it into their RMM platform. So the other area that we're really focusing on as far as MSPs are concerned is automation and kind of that DevOps movement that's out there in the industry right now. So what we've done with our product is we've baked in a REST API into our product that our customers can use, and they can call the REST API for various pieces of information. You can do a whole number of different things with our REST API. You can add virtual machines to backup locations. You can add VMs to schedules. You can look at the available versions of a VM that you can use to restore a VM. You can return a list of schedules. Look at offsite copies. Basically anything that's done at a VM level inside of our application can be changed, modified, or queried using our REST API. Now, granted, this is version 1 of our REST API, so we've been looking for feedback from customers and partners and MSPs that are starting to use it as to what other functionality they'd like to see. And if you see something, you think of something, by all means, get a hold of us, let us know. We'll be happy to look at that. So what you're seeing on your screen right here, let me move that down a little bit. This is just a PowerShell script that I put together that will actually call our REST API inside of the application, and right now it's configured to return a list of schedules. Now, what I've seen some people start doing with this is is use our REST API and combine that with other products to create almost a dashboard type view for them to work with, some sort of customized dashboard, because in the MSP world, the ability to have everything in a single pane of glass is very helpful, and we've started seeing people use this API to do just that. So as you can see, what I'm doing with this particular script here is first I'm setting the execution policy on the machine to unrestricted so that we can run this unsigned script. We're taking a look at the version of PowerShell, and if it's not the correct version, I'm going to say, okay, it's not supported. We need version 3 or higher for the script to work. And then from there, we're going to set a couple of different variables. What is the domain or the host name involved here? You would set that here. What is the Altaro username and password for the instance of Altaro VM Backup? And then we got a couple of variables here that are unchangeable with version 1 of the API. Basically, I've notated that here to leave them be. And then we do a couple of different things. In order for our API to securely service your request, we have to generate a session token that says, okay, I have a valid session token that's authenticated from a user, and now the REST API can be called. That's basically what we're doing with these couple of blocks of code here. We're actually calling for a session token to be used. And if there's one thing that you take away from looking at this particular script, it's this line that I'm highlighting here. This is the secret sauce of the script. This invoke REST method commandlet. That is the commandlet in PowerShell that actually allows you to call a REST API. And that's all I'm doing here. I'm using invoke REST method. I'm passing a couple of variables over to the REST API, and I'm requesting some information. When that information comes back, it's going to come back in a JSON format, which, in the DevOps world, JSON format is the perfect format for us to start taking and manipulating it and putting it into a readable format that other applications can use. So that's in a gist what this particular script does. What I'll do is I will actually run it so you can kind of see the output of what it's doing. So basically what the script does in a nutshell is it's going to go out, it's going to say, okay, Altaro REST API, I want to initiate a new session. It's going to open a session, and then it's going to spit out a session ID, and then it's going to return a list of schedules. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and close my active console, the management console, and then I'm going to run the REST API script that I just showed you. So again, it's going to go out and it's going to get a session token, and it's going to spit back the session token, say, okay, here's your session token, and I'm going to use that session token to get the schedule information from this instance of Altaro VM Backup. It spits out the session information in JSON, it spits out the schedule information, in JSON format, and then it's going to close the session after it's done. That way another call could be placed immediately after that to the REST API. So again, it's in JSON format, so it's a little bit difficult to kind of look through, but as you can see, we've got a number of different schedules. It's just all the schedules you saw a couple of minutes ago inside of the UI. Got the weekdays at 1, daily at 3, daily at 4, follow up with an offsite copy. These are all the schedules that you just saw inside of the application. And again, we've got some customers that are starting to take this information and display it other places. So again, it all comes down to flexibility. What is the most useful thing for you inside of your organization, inside of your MSP? We offer a number of different options. If you're interested in more information on our API, you can go to altaro.com/API, and it'll get you to this place. And you'll have all kinds of different use cases and documentation on specifically what you need to do, what calls you need to make to get the most out of this API. And again, if you have any specific feedback or you have a feature you'd like to see, by all means, let us know. Now, with the last couple of minutes I have here, I wanted to show you a new version of our central monitoring console. I didn't show you that inside of the application because we have a new version of that we're working on. And I was telling Nathan earlier that you may be the first group outside of the testing group that has actually seen this. I myself was just given access to this for testing last week. And what this is we're calling this the Altaro RMM Console. And basically, it's a web portal managed at altaro.com. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to go into the on-premises application, and there's a couple of things you can configure in there to actually make that on-premises installation report into this web console. And what this allows you to do as an MSP is now you have single pane of glass management of any number of different Altaro VM backup instances. You don't have to log into each one to make changes and do stuff. So that's really what this console is allowing, single pane of glass management. And again, this is still very much in beta, but it's on our roadmap for this year to have finished up and released so customers can start using it. But we've got a number of different options here. This is just your dashboard. What does the operation history look like for all of the different customers we have under monitoring? As you can see right now, I only have the one quote-unquote customer, just my lab, set up here. But you would have multiple lists in there, multiple customers listed here. And if you want to take a look at a specific instance, you can drill down into it, get a little bit more information, what version of Altaro VM Backup is running there, how many hosts, how many VMs are associated with that instance. If I want to look at the virtual machine specifically or tell them to take backups, I can do that through this view here. If I want to look at managed hosts across the specific customer, I can do that. So you can see here I've got a list of all my hosts. And this is one thing that I really wanted to point out here that I thought was really helpful. You see we got a couple of different colors over here. So for this top host, you can see that, okay, I've got 3 VMs backed up successfully, but I have 8 that are never backed up. So what this color coding does is it gives you a quick way of finding out, are there VMs on this specific host that aren't being backed up? And as a managed services provider, I can use that information and say, okay, Mr. Customer, I see that we've got like 4 VMs for you that we're not currently doing backups for. That's a conversation you can have with your customer and potentially, one, protect your customer because they may not realize they're not backing up those VMs, and 2, that gives you a conversation to potentially get some more revenue from that customer as well. So that's really useful here. And the red, that just means you've got some failures sometime in the recent history. So I went in and I actually generated some failure events on a couple of these. That way you could see the difference in the color scheme here. So, and then from there, you can initiate restores. You can configure email notifications. Now, mind you, this is different notifications than the on-premise product because these are initiated from the RMM platform, not from the on-premises product. So you won't see the event ID notifications here. And then you can pull reports. You can get help. Takes you to our technical support screen. And again, we have chat right from within the web app even. So again, we want to make that support experience very positive. Again, I kind of zipped through that fairly quickly. And you can see I've got a backup running right now. So again, we want to let MSPs know that we're really making a big investment in making their lives easier when they want to use and when they want to sell our product. So that's what this new RMM portal is all about. Again, this is beta software. It's probably going to change a little bit yet before our actual release. But again, it is on our roadmap for this year. If you have any feedback or anything that you'd like to see in this particular application, feel free to reach out to me. Let me know. Other than that, I can open things up for questions. There's a questions app inside of the GoToWebinar interface. If you have any particular questions, that I can answer for you, go ahead and use that, and I'll take a look at them. So I guess from there, I give you guys a minute or two here, and we'll hand things back over to Nathan. You got anything you want to add, Nathan, or any questions that you had that you wanted answered, maybe?
Well, no, you covered it well, man. Very nicely done.
I'm sorry, I missed the first half of that, I think.
Yeah, so no, I was just saying that very nicely done, and no, I didn't have any questions. It was that was great.
Ah, perfect. Good,
Oh,
good.
maybe one thing, the MSP thing. So that will definitely be out. You're thinking sometime in 2016.
Yeah, it is on our roadmap for this year, and if you notice the version number, it was 6.3. Our current stable release is 6.2. So really, it's a minor version upgrade. It's not a major version upgrade. So if I had to guess, I would say August, September timeframe, I think is what I'm hearing. But again, it beta, so I suppose that's subject to change, but I do know that we're targeting before end of year, definitely.
And then I wonder what they're going to do from a licensing perspective. Like, is it going to be an extra cost on top of the individual license you buy? Do you know how they're going to do that piece of it?
I have not heard that they're going to charge extra for it, because another one of the big things we focus on is not breaking the bank, right? We don't think you need to be a Wall Street banker to do backups of your information. But it'll probably just follow that same licensing methodology. Either you can license per host. Again, that's per host, not per socket. Or you could do the managed services licensing, which last time I checked was $5 per VM per month, minimum minimum 25 VMs. So 25 VMs, that's kind of your starting cost for that licensing model. Yep. So.
Yeah. Okay.
The only stipulation I could see is we may require that you have the unlimited edition of our license, which most MSPs are going to go with anyway. If you go with the standard edition licensing, you're limited to 5 VMs on that specific host. Whereas the unlimited edition, you can back up 2,000 VMs if you had a host that could accommodate that many.
Right.
Well, I'm not.
All right. Well, it looks like we don't. Yeah, it looks like we don't have any other questions rolling in, so maybe we'll call it a wrap.
That sounds good. And again, just want to let everyone know if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Nathan or myself. We're here to help. All
right. Well, Andy, thank you very much for doing this today. Phenomenal job on the webinar. You've obviously done this before. You're very good at this, and it was great information, and so we really appreciate you taking the time to educate us today.
Always a pleasure. I enjoy doing it, and if you need a hand with anything else, let me know.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. Thanks a lot for joining, everybody, and hope everybody enjoys the bacon.